We're going to be talking about how you can earn more income by niching your photography business. Okay, one of the many myths, and there's a lot, but one of the many myths that photographers latch onto is the belief that if you market to a wider audience, you can make more money. And I get it, at first it can feel super uncomfortable to even think about narrowing down your audience because our automatic reaction is, of course, I want to offer services to everyone. I don't want to turn anyone away. But hear me out on this, okay? Narrowing down your services to a niche audience actually increases your value to prospective clients, and that allows you to charge more money for your specialty. Okay, so let me give you a couple examples. So think of it this way: if there's a major pipe that bursts in your home and you've got water gushing through your house, you're probably not going to call a typical handy person who's got experience in a little bit of everything. You've got an emergency and you need a specialist, so you're going to call a plumber. Okay, sure, if it was maybe a small leak, from a small pipe under the sink or something, you might call it a handyman. Maybe a handy person would work for you. But when you've got a big problem, you need a specialist, an expert in that field. Okay, so, and maybe it'll cost more than that handy person would charge, but you've got a serious job and you need a serious professional you can trust to get the job done. And the same goes for our own photography businesses. When a client wants a professional, they're much more likely to invest in an expert who is dialed into their specialty that they're looking for versus someone who does a bit of it all, and they are happy to pay more to feel confident about the photographer that they have chosen to pay, and they just also are willing to pay more to feel less worried that the person they hire might not be the right person for them. Okay, if a high school student starts checking out Instagram for a photographer to take their senior photos, who do you think that they're going to beg their parents to book? Is it the do-it-all photographer that does weddings and families and newborns and seniors? Or would it be the senior photographer who specializes in a once-in-a-lifetime experience where seniors can have hair and makeup done and access to a client, closet with accessory and clothes that make them look their best? Okay, they're going to go tell their parents about the senior photographer every single time. Okay. Sharma says, that is mine. It's been a struggle since I moved to South Florida. I missed your comment, Sharma, earlier. So what do you mean by this? That is mine. Does this have to do with your niche? Sometimes it's hard to keep up with the comments. I want to just make sure that I'm answering you guys okay. But this is one thing I want to say, this a little caveat. Like if you're first starting out, or maybe you're newer into your photography business, or maybe you're just not sure what specialty you want to go into, it is okay. I want to give you permission and to let you know that it is okay to try a little bit of everything. It is okay to try weddings, to try brand photography, to try seniors, to try families and newborns. That is okay. But the sooner you can niche down, the better, because people are looking for photographers who resonate with them. They're not looking for a do-it-all person who has a little bit of experience in a lot of things. They want a specialist. Sharma says non-traditional geeky weddings. Oh, I love it. Okay, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, we're going to talk, Sharma, about how you can narrow down your niche today, and it may just be a matter of getting very specific about who you serve within that alternative community. Because if you're an alternative photographer like me, that is a very, very broad term, and there's a lot of sub-communities within that community. That's a whole other topic we can talk about another time. So it's about really getting specific. Millie says, I'm struggling to niche down within the wedding photography industry. Yep. I love that you said that, Millie, because a lot of people will stop with their niche when they say, I'm a wedding photographer. And we're going to talk about more about that in just a moment, but it needs to be dialed in further than that so that you can really hone in on your niche and attract the right people. Okay, so when you guys narrow down your services and you market to a smaller audience, you become the go-to photographer for the job. Okay, that the expert in your field. And clients are willing to pay more for your niche services because what you have to offer just isn't readily available. Sure, maybe there's a few other photographers in your area doing it, but not everyone's doing that. You know what I mean? So when there's just a few people to choose from, you're standing out in your market. Okay, this creates demand as well removes the feeling of competition with others because you know those other photographers offering it all aren't whom you need to worry about. They are not your competition. Okay, you're going to be creating a market of one, a market of just you. And that's why, a little tangent here, but that's why I'm such a big fan of personal branding too, being the personality, the face behind your business, showing up as who you authentically are. I hate using that word because it's so overused, but for lack of a better word at this moment, just because no one can duplicate you. People are going to try to duplicate your style. They may even try to duplicate your niche, but they cannot duplicate who you are. They cannot. And that, along with having a niche, that is really what's going to make you stand out. That is really what is going to cause people to pay more, because if they don't hire you, they don't get you and they won't get it elsewhere. All right. So I know about this whole niche experience because my alternative photography niche attracts really passionate clients looking for someone who revels in the non-traditional and gets their vibe. I have multiple clients who see me and travel to me because they can't find what I offer elsewhere. They just can't. And they happily pay more for my specialty because what they want from me is a very big value to them. Okay, so they find it worth every penny to invest in someone they can count on to understand them. Niching down also makes your marketing razor sharp, okay? Because anytime you're speaking to your audience, you've got one set of ears listening, knowing that what you have to say is just for them. All right. So let's say that you're a photographer who's multi-passionate. Okay, there's a lot of us out there, and I think we naturally, as creatives, we have an interest in a lot of things. But when it comes to your business, that's where you can start getting in trouble. So let's consider that you are a photographer in business and you're multi-passionate. You're serving weddings, families, maternities, and seniors, and you want to market to them via social media. Every time you make a social media post, it's going to be really hard to resonate with your entire audience. Okay. Even if you decide you're going to make 4 posts a week, one of each targeting each part of your audience, you're only going to resonate with parts of your audience 25% of the time. Okay? Do you see how this waters down your marketing impact? This would mean that what you have to say will only open the eyes and ears of each part of your audience 4 times a month. So you'll be resonating with couples for weddings 4 times a month. You'll be resonating with families 4 times a month. Do you see what I'm saying? That's not enough. It's not enough. So I don't know about you, but that feels like a lot of work with very little impact. Okay? What you post for seniors is not going to resonate with families. What you post for maternity is not going to resonate with couples looking for a wedding photographer. So this could be one reason why you might feel like you're doing all this work to market your business, but the inquiries and the referrals aren't coming in as much as you had hoped. Okay? Don't be afraid to stand out. Niche down to what you're passionate about and become the expert in your field and make more money. Do you guys have any questions or comments before I move on? Because I want to talk about selecting a niche, because I have a 3-step formula to niching your photography business that we seriously need to learn about today, and this is going to help you stand out and earn more income. But do you guys see how when you are an expert in your field that you stand out from the other photographers? People always worry and say that the photography is such a saturated market. It is not the market, guys. It's the marketing. People are not understanding how to market themselves, and that's where the problem is. There are plenty of people looking for photographers every day. As saturated as you may feel this market is, because literally, yes, there's a lot of people offering photography, and not everyone is a legal business where they're having to pay federal income taxes and therefore needing to charge more so they can actually make an income, put food on the table, compared to someone who maybe just doing it as a hobby for a little cash on the side. There's a lot of that out there. I get it. I understand how that feels. But it's not about the market. It's about the marketing. Okay? So think about that before you make any assumptions when you're struggling. All right? So let's talk about selecting a niche. Because another mistake that photographers make is thinking they have a niche when they actually don't. They are too generalized, so that can answer a lot of questions if you feel like you have a niche, but you might be struggling within that market. Okay? So Nicole says, you were so cute today. Nicole, thank you. I actually don't feel very well today, and I barely got myself looking decent for this live. So thank you for saying that. I just threw on a little hair rag, good to go. Low energy day. So I want to share my formula to niche your business so you can dial into your actual niche and start seeing more impact in your marketing and bring in more income to your business, okay? Now remember, you're the expert, the specialist in your field. So you want to be honed in on what your niche specifically is so that when a potential client comes across your business, they know immediately that you're the photographer they need, okay? So my 3-step formula to niche your photography business is this. Get out a pen and paper if you have not already. It's called ICE. ICE is the acronym, okay? Industry, category, and expertise. All right? Industry, category, and expertise. I call that ICE. Hey, Kayla, it's okay you're late. I'm glad that you're here. We'll have the replay up as usual too, so no problem if you want to go back. So in this 3-step formula to niching your photography business, the first part is industry. Our industry is photography. That's easy, okay? But being a photographer is not a niche, right? So let's move on to category. Category is the type of photography that you do, whether that's weddings, events, real estate, branding. This is unfortunately where most photographers stop and they feel that that is their niche. I'm a brand photographer. I'm a wedding photographer. I'm a real estate photographer. And that's where they fall short. The next step in the formula is where the actual magic happens, where you start dialing into your niche and your communication with your audience is so razor sharp that you start seeing more inquiries, you start seeing more referrals, and you start seeing more people who are willing to pay more. All right? So this third part, this is the most important part, is expertise. What is your expertise within your industry and your category? Who do you help, and what problem or need do you solve? Okay? So let's talk a couple examples so this makes a little more sense. Let's say that you are a brand photographer, okay? A lot of people, again, will stop short right there and say, that's my niche. I, help all kinds of brands. And, if we really sit down and think about it, how many types of brands are out there? Hundreds. So you're serving everyone? It's very, very generalized. But what if you were a brand photographer who specialize in serving female creative entrepreneurs? I mean, like artists, bakers, graphic designers, florists. Now that is a niche. That is a specificity within that category of photography that is specifically targeting an audience. And I don't know about you, but if I'm looking for a brand photographer and I see someone who says that they specialize in female creative entrepreneurs, you can best believe that I'm going to check them out first before someone who just says they're a brand photographer. Because I'm a creative, I have a creative business. I want someone who knows what it is that I'm looking for, what I might need for my website, what I might need for a business card, what I might need for social media. They understand the approach that I want to have with my audience. Do you see the difference? Do you see why I would pay more for that? Because I absolutely would. Maybe you're a wedding photographer, okay? Your industry is photography, your category is weddings. But maybe you're an adventure elopement photographer. An adventure elopement photographer who helps couples who serves couples who choose adventure over tradition on their wedding day. Boom! There's a tagline right there that you can use in your Insta bio that would immediately attract couples that are looking for adventure elopements, okay? Adventure elopement couples are not looking for the average typical wedding photographer. A lot of these couples are looking to climb a flipping mountain, to cross streams, and they are looking for photographers who have that experience, who know about amazing tips and details and locations that they don't know about, that other photographers would not know of. And they are happy to pay more for that service. All right? When I was engaged and looking for a photographer just a few years ago, I was eloping in a castle off the coast of Florida, and I wasn't looking for just any wedding photographer. I was looking for an alternative photographer. And guess what? There weren't any like me. And guess what? If there were, I would have definitely paid more to feel understood and more confident in my decision. And that's actually why I serve the niche that I serve today. Niche piques interest. Niche allows a higher price point, and niche attracts enthusiastic clients. But you need to get specific to spark that enthusiasm. Does that make sense, everybody? A lot of people get scared. They get scared about specializing because they're scared to repel people. But when you market to a generalized market, people may like you, but they're not passionate about you and what you're doing. When you create a niche, you're targeting people who are passionate about what you offer and what you do, and that there is a huge difference in your results from your marketing when you do that. People will invest in what they are passionate about, and they will invest more to get it. All right? I've talked to you guys before about the fact that I live in Orlando. I have people that I meet that come from all over the world just to spend their life savings to go to Disney World. I can't understand that. And I think that's because I'm a native who grew up here. It's not anything out of the ordinary to me. It's not something that I would spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to go to. It's just not my personal perspective, not my personal passion. But there are people all over the world who value that experience with their families and will pay thousands for it, thousands and thousands, just to stay a few days at Disney with their kids, to have that once in a lifetime experience. People invest in what they're passionate about. And that's why having a niche is so important. All right. So let me give you some bonus tips today. First, it is okay to attract and repel. I know that repel people away from your business can sound scary, but you need to attract the people who are passionate about your business and repel the ones who are not. Again, if you're just starting out, if you are early on in your business or early to niching, then you need to figure out what you're passionate about. So it's okay. It's okay to be shooting other types of sessions. Just know that you need to find where your heart lies the heaviest and you're most passionate about, so you can start niching down, because you will see some struggles in your marketing on social media and your marketing online, in person, when you have a more generalized focus. Okay? Second tip, use your niche in the first line of your social media bios, okay? You have just seconds to convince someone whether they should follow you or not, all right? So if you are that adventure elopement photographer, then your bio might say, helping couples choose adventure over tradition on their wedding day. It needs to be short and to the point. Who you are, what you do, who you're serving, all right? Very specific, short, to the point. We only have, I believe, 130 characters in Instagram bios. Facebook's rather short too. So short, sweet, to the point. Tell people what you do and who it's for in one sentence, okay? Number 3, narrow down to 1 to 2 specialties at the most, okay? I don't want you to think that you have to just have one, but I will say the less the better. The less the better. But yes, you can be successful at more than one niche. You'll see photographers like Hope Taylor, who has been very successful being both a wedding and a senior photographer. Okay, she successfully serves both audiences. But the less groups that you serve, the better, because you'll have more impact with every marketing step that you take, and those results will bring you more income as a niche photographer. Do you guys have any questions? Let me know if that formula helps you, because so many people stop at, I'm a wedding photographer, I'm a brand photographer, I'm a child and mother photographer, and they aren't niching down specifically to what they actually are doing and who they're serving. Getting specific matters in marketing. Getting specific helps you stand out in your market. It helps bring more clients, and it helps you earn more income. Guys, I'm not joking when I'm telling you, I've just booked recently 2 more weddings where people are flying here to Orlando. Not asking me to come fly to them, but they're flying to Orlando. So I will shoot their wedding for them because there isn't anybody else that they can find like me out there. There are very few people who do what I do. Very few. And people are willing to pay for that. I know when I got married, those services were not available for me. Alternative photographers were not a thing. In fact, if you go to the UK, it's a huge thing. And there's so many different types of alternative photographers. Here in the US, it's just starting to pick up and it's growing, but there's not a lot of us out there. There are not. And I would have loved to have found one for my wedding just a few years ago because I would have happily paid more because that's what I'm passionate about. I wanted someone who understood me, that I didn't have to explain to about, hey, just to let you know, not going to have an all white wedding dress. Do you know what I mean? I didn't want that. I didn't want to have to explain myself to someone. I wanted to be understood. And I wanted my style and the person I was to be celebrated. And it was not. So does that make sense to you guys? Does that make sense why honing in on a niche is so important? So important. Quit trying to do what everyone else is doing because it's just going to make you blend in. If you're buying the same presets everyone else is doing, you're going to blend in. If your website and brand colors are all the same as everyone else, you're going to blend in. So what happens when you blend in is that you are positioning your potential clients in a place where all they have to do is start choosing based on price point. If you've got 2 photographers who are doing the same things, of course they're going to go for the less expensive photographer. But if you have one who's doing something that no one else is doing and their fees are a little bit higher or a lot higher, that's okay. Because if you don't hire them, you don't get them. Does that make sense, everybody? Any questions before I go? I hope this helped. Usually when I talk about this formula, people are like, oh, wow, I did not even think to go that deep. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about, these little tweaks that you can do in your business that have such a huge impact, and can change the way that you are making your income. All right? I'm trying to help you guys learn how to create sustainable businesses so they are built to last, not built to be here for just a few years. So if I don't have any questions, I'm going to let you guys go. I'll put a poll up for next week's topics, and I can't wait to talk to you guys live next week. I hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you soon.